Right?
And leg behind you going, oh.
Uh-huh.
I'm being sassy. Your sister's sassy. You're not sassy.
We were over there yesterday. Nate and I were over there yesterday, and Amber had them in the crate, and Nate kept going up and like trying to talk to them and like, big giant puppies, why won't they play with me? I'm like, they are literally 3 times your size.
Yeah. Oh, they'll play with you, but you will be on the ground like a little dog toy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
So today we are going to talk about the topic of numbing and medicating. So at the Healing Collective, we talk about this a lot. This is kind of core to why we do what we do. Numbing and medicating for some looks like substance use, and for others looks very different. So do one of you want to start us off with what comes up for you when we talk about numbing and medicating at the Healing Collective?
Stacey, you want to go first?
Sure. So I think what comes up for me is finding a way to keep myself safe when I feel like I'm outside the scope of what I can emotionally manage or tolerate. Whatever's happening in my world, in my life, is too big. I don't have the capacity or the resources to manage what's happening inside for me, either because I was never taught them, or because I don't have the ability to tap into them in current circumstances. And ultimately, all of those lead back to experience of trauma, of spending time in survival outside the window that I have, my window of tolerance, outside of being able to cope effectively with whatever is coming in. So needing to keep myself safe by checking out in whatever way I know how. Like you said, Jen, especially for a lot of my folks that I work with, it is substance use, but lots of other ways too. Keeping busy, shopping, codependency, worrying about someone else's needs over mine. How do I check out from my current experience in order to keep myself from internally combusting?
Yeah. One thing that I notice, especially in our culture, is when someone comes to me and I talk to them about their number and medicator, there is a level of defensiveness equal to how much they hurt. And I come from a home of lots of addictions. And in my own process, lived the experience of, if you loved me, you would stop, all the way through to, and I'm not that I'm done, but all the way through to the other side of, and the reason my dad did that is because he was a survivor. And so in my experience, when I talk to clients, I'm able to hear defensiveness as pain, and I can create space for the defensiveness rather than offer back defensiveness. And what really helps me to understand and depersonalize in my own process was a lot of what Stacey just said with no one taught me. I didn't know when I feel scared what to do with that, when I feel angry what to do with that, or even if I was allowed to feel those feelings, because sometimes they were an inconvenience to the situation. And what I did see and what was modeled is when stuff in here doesn't feel good, or when I need to control things to be safe, I use something outside of me to do that. And so if it was work, if it was school, if it was working on the farm, if it was watching or being a bartender to my dad to the like age 4 and up, if it was pleasing or cheering up my mom, like there was all of these things outside of me that I would use to make me feel better on the inside. And when I share that with clients that I work with today, there is this shift in their face. There is this awareness of the Healing Collective. We believe the root and the need to numb and medicate is because of a trauma. Addiction, alcoholism, gambling, codependency, any of the isms that you want to call it, are a consequence of trauma. They are not the problem. And the reason that half of our team is licensed clinical addiction specialists is because we have to go through that pain, not around it. And we can't heal while my number is getting between me and me. And so half of our team creates that stabilization so that our clients can go through that to get to the other side to start healing it. And whether that is a substance, as Stacey mentioned, or it is a behavior, we can use anything to numb and medicate. We can isolate, we can video games, money, scrolling, anything. And I think when our clients hear that anything can be used, it's not just about how much they're drinking. It really opens up this perception of, oh yeah, I do that because I feel yucky, or I feel bad, or I can't go out in public unless I have a beer because I'm too anxious. Oftentimes, the substances, the things are supporting and helping me survive something else. Yeah, so it is about reframing the narrative of I'm not bad because I'm an alcoholic. I'm a survivor and I use alcohol to try to survive. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that perception shift, because what I hear is I'm really good at keeping myself safe.
Yeah.
I'm really good at surviving whatever comes my way or whatever's happening in my system. And it feels almost like a superpower rather than something to be ashamed of. Not necessarily a superpower that I want to continue to do, because for me, numbing also is a form of self-abandonment. And my recovery is about reconnecting with myself rather than abandoning myself. Being able to stay in my body and support myself in moving through what's happening, as opposed to feeling chaotic and out of control and then grasping for these external things to make me feel in control. One thing that popped into my head as you were talking, was I don't know why I never connected this until right now. Anytime I go home to my family of origin, or even prior to when we were hosting holidays or something, the safest place that I felt was in the kitchen. Cooking, prepping, serving. Didn't realize that that was a form of ADSing. I had a role, I had a function, I was busy, everybody would leave me alone. I felt helpful, I felt valued, I felt needed. And it was a way for me to not integrate or process or feel the chaos that was happening in the moment with my family. So when we talk about numbing and medicating, there's the alcohol use, there's the substance use, and there's also the process addictions, as we call them. There's I'm doing, as Stacey said beautifully earlier, the things that keep me outside of my body. So why I numb is survival. Why I numb is because I have experienced trauma. We've spoken before in previous episodes. Trauma can be a specific event, a big T trauma, specific event thing that happened to me. It can also be a series of small T traumas. So growing up in a house where I had needs that weren't met, where there was dysfunction. What happens when I show up in a relationship and I'm numbing and they're numbing?
As nobody is connected, nobody's capable of connecting. If nobody is present in their reality and their now, then their connection's impossible. True connection, intimacy is impossible. And you guys both mentioned the word shame, and I think that part of the process that becomes so valuable is helping develop the understanding that my core instinct in my brain is to get myself away from discomfort.
Mhm.
That is a reflex. I don't have to think about it. It's not something that requires a lot of processing. It's just a reflex that I know, oop, I don't like the way that feels, and I'm just going to kick back over here to what I know feels better. And taking the shame out of that's not because I'm bad or wrong or inadequate. It's actually quite the opposite. It's that I'm really masterful at keeping myself away from discomfort. My brain is hardwired to do that and to help me with it. But the parts of my brain that help me with that, their job isn't to understand it. It's just to get me away from the bad feelings. And so in recovery, I come in with curiosity and understanding and can look at things through a different lens without it having to be a shame-filled process.
Love that.
So when it comes to numbing and medicating, we reach outside of our body to get relief from the pain inside our body. And our body doesn't recognize the difference in emotional pain and physical pain. Our nervous system only knows pain. So as survivors, what recovery gives us is it doesn't mean we're no longer survivors. It just means that we're survivors no longer suffering. And so when we can get to that place of understanding that Stacey's referring to, and when we can get to the place of not doing to me what was done to me, not shaming me, not abandoning me, as Jenn said, that's the place of recovery. And it's not that we get there and stay there for the rest of our life, because that would be freaking amazing. It's that anytime that we drift away from that, we know to go back to that. It's like home plate or safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think it's Buddhist philosophy, and I'm going to completely butcher it because I can't remember how it's specifically written, but essentially it's life is pain, and pain plus resistance is suffering. So life is painful, but we don't have to suffer. When we resist, and part of numbing is resisting that pain, that's what leads to suffering, as opposed to leaning in, embracing it, allowing ourselves to feel that discomfort, sit with it, Stacey, you mentioned earlier getting curious. That's how we avoid suffering. Beautiful. Well, thank you for joining me today, ladies.
Thank you.
And I look forward to next week.
See you next time.
See ya.